Hi guys, welcome to my latest video, which is going to be based around Directory Opus 4, installing, configuring. I think we'll install a bit of a Workbench setup using Opus 4. I've created a basic Workbench 3.1 install with an O30 setup with plenty of memory. However, use whatever version of Workbench that you require. Directory Opus you'll need to download from the Directory Opus research project, which is probably the easiest place, which is just here. You'll need to download 4.16 public release and then the pre-21 LZX updated beta, if you want to use that version. We'll be installing both. First we'll install the public release and then we'll install the pre-21 over the top of it after, as there's no installer for that. With the install, we're going to have to copy a few files across, well I am, because installer isn't installed by default. And we'll also need to install Lahar archiver. So I've booted into Workbench 3.1. I've actually got a 500 meg HDF for Workbench, which is there, and then I've got a folder on my PC where all the files are that I'm potentially going to be needing and using, which are shown here. What we'll do is we'll put lahar.run, which can be found on Aminet, into RAM, and then we'll run that, and that will extract lahar into RAM. Now, because I'm using an O30, I'll need to just copy lahar 6020 into C. So just lahar. Next we'll copy Directory Opus into RAM. This will have a lot of RAM. And then we lahar extract RAM Dopus 416 JR bin R. Okay, with Workbench 3.1 setpatch will cause Directory Opus to crash. You will need to download setpatch 43.6 from Aminet and then overwrite the setpatch. Otherwise, Opus will crash, as setpatch will be looking for an FPU, which doesn't there. Or alternatively, if you didn't WinUE, just create an FPU. Just speed this up. Okay, so if I go into RAM, we've got our Directory Opus, and we should be able to install it. Now we're going to install as an expert user, even though you might be a novice, and just follow what I do. So proceed with install for real, proceed. We're going to install it on our sys drive. I've already installed it once, but we're going to do it again. Yes, we want to delete outdated files. Install whichever languages you require. Now we can not auto start Opus on startup, start it up or start it iconified. We're not going to start it up. However, if you use it a lot, start iconified or use a Workbench replacement. Let's just copy everything. Well, these will go into your S. Directory Opus 4 docs. And there we go, it's installed. So we should be able to run it. Just tidy up a little bit. So we shouldn't need to use a shell now, and we shouldn't need to use Workbench. There we go. So this is the Directory Opus main screen. This is version 4.16. Directory Opus Live is 22.18. So this will all need updating, and then we reboot. However, we'll need to install LZX first. A quick tour. Status bar is there. You've got two listers. Left mouse button on this default config red means it's the selected lister. You've got your drives here. Again, right mouse button goes through all your assigns, etc. And just clicking on one will load it into whichever listers you've set up. You've got your menus with some functions, which we'll cover in a minute. You've got tiny buttons in the middle here, and you've also got some tiny buttons at the bottom. Clicking the question mark in the tiny button, and then clicking on a button will give you some information on whatever you're clicking on. So if you get stuck, just click on that. E give you Amiga-DOS error command, so you can enter an error command to 205's object not found. 103 memory. So if you get any errors, just enter it in there and it'll give you some more information. F is the filter. Now I don't know a huge amount about this, so we'll go to the manual. And there's a subdirectory filter. Yeah, it's pretty obvious once you read it. So select your filter there, and the F will stay highlighted, and then anything that you work on in the listers will only work on any files that match the filter. I've never ever used it personally, but it doesn't mean to say it's not any use. C launches a config program, which we'll come back to. And I iconifies, right mouse button to go back. Q quits. That will take us to a current directory. Help and error help again are match the tiny buttons at the bottom. Configure, text configure, about. I'll tell you a little bit about this version. And version we know about. Iconify, you've seen button iconify. Iconifies like that. And I'll be honest, I don't even know how you get back. On iconify, there you go. Okay, so we need to install SZX, and then we'll create a basic button. The purpose of this is just to get SZX installed rather than teach you how to use it. I tend to use RAM as a scratch folder, hence why I add quite a bit of size to it. So what I want to do is unpack LZX. So click it. Now there's a couple of ways to do this. You can click and click Arc Extract, or you can click and then click on the next window, and that'll extract into that window. A little bit more about the actual listers. Left mouse button select, left mouse button and drag, auto select. You can toggle. Double click in will launch whatever Opus thinks a file is. So this it thinks it's a text. If it doesn't know, it'll just assume it's a text. So if you double click on Alaha, it will list the contents, for example. So we need to install LZX. So it needs to go into C. We want the 020 registered version, and we want to, under the copy button, there's a copy as. I'll put on LZX as well, even though I'll probably never use it. Key file needs to go into L. And that's LZX installed. We now need to create a button. So we'll go into config Opus, click on buttons, and then where it says Arc Extract, we'll select the one below it, which is with the right mouse button. It's the name. Don't worry too much about what I'm doing right now. X means extract. And that's so on CD destination, door files, output to a window, and select the close data -1, which means it'll ask you to press the left mouse button to close the window. We don't need to save this, but because we're not going to use it too much. So go into our temp and then stage 1. Okay, so Opus is now in RAM. So go to our install, modules, so copy config Opus across and replace the one that's there. So just replace them. So from here we want to overwrite Directory Opus itself. And then that version of Dopus library needs to be overwritten. And that's about it. We don't need the debug versions. We're just going to check the libs for the Dopus library. Nothing in there, so now we just reboot, but I'm just going to save this config for the time being. Well, that's I am. That's not going to work because we've overwritten the config. Just reboot. Okay, so to check that it's updated, the menu will be trashed. But if we go to the version 417 pre-20, it's actually pre-21. They just forgot to update the version string. Got a newer version of the Dopus library, and the configuration program should now work. There we go. But obviously the button we created is now gone. But we've got no other LDX to worry about for the time being. So what we're going to do now is attempt to install Picasso 96 so we can get some decent sized screen modes, and then we'll come back to some of these buttons. So again, make dir, create my temp folder, and then unpack Picasso 96. Then we'll install that from Workbench. We'll expert user. First install, we'll expert install for real. I don't want to do the documentation. I'm just going to do UAE, which is picked up. Turns out the Picasso now, yes. Onto libs, monitors, prefs. We'll just go with, so it needs to set that to another location. So we'll select in, because there's no work folder. We'll just put it in prefs then on. In fact, no, we won't, we'll put it in tools. Yep. No, we don't need the printer batch. I don't plan on printing. Yes. Proceed. Creating drawer for cards and chips. Proceed. Install the Picasso libraries. No, if you do intermediate, probably just install these. It won't ask you. It'll just do it. Okay, now I'm not sure if I need to reboot or if this will just work. We'll probably need to reboot, to be fair. Yeah, we do. So let's reboot. There we go. So I don't want a ridiculously large screen. 800 by 600 should do. Just see if that works. There we go. So we launch Directory Opus. Yeah, I'll clone the Workbench screen. and just look better. So let's have a look at what some of these buttons do. So all selects everything. Right mouse button on it because it's got a dog tag on the corner. Right mouse button toggles, and none does none. Go down a few folders or directories. Click parent, takes us back up one. Root takes us back to the root of the hard drive. Copy does exactly what copy says. Copies it across. Delete does what delete says. Right mouse button on it, copy it as. You can give it a new name, and it will copy it across. Also, you can just click, it will copy as well. Move, well, it moves it, deletes it from the source. Move as lets you rename it. Rename renames. Clone will clone the file. So clone, give it a name. It creates a copy in the source. Mcdowell I've already used. Assign, that will create an assign from wherever you are. So if we go to, for example, I want to assign that as work, click on assign, give it a name, and then if you click on, you'll see work. With more info, just click on there. Excuse me. Work is assigned to PC folder. So quick and dirty, making assigns. Check fit, what that will do is check if whatever you've got selected will fit in the other lister if you use to copy or move it. And get sizes, will get the size of all your directories. Like so. Check fit's more accurate. I need to turn JIT on, I think. A bit slow. So check fit's more accurate as it checks block size, whereas get sizes just gets literally the file size. Hunt will search for a file. So select some directories, click hunt. You can then look for any file. There we go. The star is wildcard. So then take us to where it is. Search will search for text within a file. So that's pretty obvious. And then you can load it into the reader, search for it, and it will highlight it for you. Right mouse button quit, so you can just continue by pressing the quit in the reader. Run runs an immediate command. Comment allows you to put a file comment. So if we go into RAM, nothing in there. But if we click on comment, it's not allowed a comment. However, I don't know how this works with Windows, so I only do it on HDFs. Protect will allow you to mess with the protection bits. Icon info, we get information on the icons, same as Workbench icon info. Right mouse button will add an icon, so T's now got an icon. Arc extract, we've already seen that will extract LHAR, LZH, and ARC archives automatically, and later on I'll show you how to add other archives. So that one button will just extract anything. Encrypt will allow you to create encryption. However, how accurate or secure it is, I have no idea. Read will read the file. We'll treat it as a text file, no matter what it is. Hex read, well, again, we'll read it as a hex file no matter what it is. And if you right click on read, we've got answer read. It just processes answer characters. Double click in the list will also interrogate the file and then do whatever it thinks is best. Show will show pictures. So there's it's shown the icon, and if you press the space bar, it gets you some more information. Left mouse button to go to the next, or if you've got, so for example, there's two there. So there's the first one. Left mouse button, second one. Play will play sounds and modules. Loop play will loop them. Edit will load ed. So click edit, go back to Workbench. Or is it? It's not. Yeah, I need to do a text file. That one. There we go. It's just extremely slow. Focus on the JIT running. Right mouse button will create a new file. Again, it will just be a text file with whatever name you give it. So, and that is about it. Oh, up here we've got disk copy, so you can copy from DFO to DF1. Obviously, if you create virtual drives like RAD, etc., it'll copy them as well. I'm guessing what these are. Format disk. The newer versions, I think, supports PFS or SFS file systems. That I'm going to guess is installed. So pop a boot lock on, and these are archive things. Let's go and fix that. So click on the config, menus, and just change the foreground color. Naturally, you can have them a different color if you want. Obviously, relabels the disk, but we'll cover some more of this in a second. Okay, so I've only got two menus, but as you can see, you can have 5 menus. Each menu can up to 20 items. And we'll just save that config because. Okay, so disk info, give you information on the drive. So it's huge. Whereas if we do Workbench disk, 500 meg. Relabel allows you to rename the disk. Print dar, you can print to a print, or you can print to a file, and that'll print the contents of whatever's in the list that's highlighted. And then you got some archive stuff, which I don't think are Arc or Zoo installed, which I probably haven't, to be fair. So we're now going to go and install GoADF because we're going to use it. I'm also going to install Workbench version to give us information on file versions, and possibly Dopus as well. So let's create my temp folder directory. Turbo's great. Then add an icon. There, it will probably just run, probably doesn't need to be installed. I will need to copy my key file. Obviously, you're not going to have this unless you've registered. So move that across. Unpack both these archives. Add icons. So Dopus is a fantastic tool. Workbench version is useful. I'm going to put W version into C, and then Dopus is going to go into tools. Okay, so I've installed SnoopDOS, so when we run anything, we can see if any files are missing, or if there's any issues. So if something doesn't work, we can look into it, and you'll see that in a minute. When I run GoADF, it should list in the lister here why it's loading. We're going to have it only show fails for the time being. So we can look and see what it's looking for. So it's looking for XVS library, which isn't there, which we will install. So we'll clean the Workbench screen, so it's just easier. So it's registered to me. We're not going to use this right now because I've got no ADS, but I will copy some across. So that's installed, SnoopDOS is installed, and the WB version is installed. And the great thing about this is you can see what versions are installed. And when we use Opus, we'll have it so it outputs to a window, so we can select loads of files, output to a window. There's also some Directory Opus scripts. Which is it? This one? Or is it a different one? I'm pretty sure it's that one. I'll have to double check. Bear with me. Yep, it's the correct one. Okay, so that concludes. Oh no, I've missed a couple of things. So at the bottom you got another status bar, which just gives you chip RAM free, fast RAM free, total memory free, date, time, and that's about it. I think we've just covered just about everything. There's some other advanced features which we'll come to when we install other libraries. For example, we can install a library so that when we double click on a lahar or a zip archive, it will literally just list it in a lister like you would on a PC today. But yeah, that's for the next video. So thanks for joining me, and we'll be back again soon.